The Power of Friendship, Jake and Max's Journey. Jake was 5 years old when he first met Max. It was his first day of kindergarten, and everything felt overwhelming. The bright colors, the loud voices, and the unfamiliar faces. Jake stood nervously at the edge of the playground, clutching his superhero lunchbox, wondering how he'd survive this strange new world. That's when Max came barreling out of nowhere, his messy hair sticking up in every direction and a grin stretched across his face. He was wearing a dinosaur t-shirt and carrying a stick like it was a sword. "Cool lunchbox," Max said, pointing at the superhero emblazoned on the front. "You like superheroes?" Jake nodded, still too shy to speak. "Want to play? I'll be the T-Rex and you can be the superhero trying to stop me." Jake's eyes lit up. "Okay," he said, and from that moment, they were inseparable. The playground became their first battlefield. Together they fought invisible monsters, protected their kingdom from the evil fourth graders, and always made time to share peanut butter sandwiches under the big oak tree. Their teacher often said they were like peanut butter and jelly. Completely different but somehow perfect together. By the time first grade rolled around, Jake and Max had elevated their games. They turned the backyard treehouse into their secret spy headquarters. They drew up elaborate missions, sneaking around their neighborhoods and investigating suspicious characters who were mostly friendly neighbors. Once, they followed Old Man Peterson for an entire afternoon, convinced he was hiding buried treasure. When they weren't spies, they were pirates, astronauts, or explorers. Their imaginations turned ordinary days into extraordinary adventures. In fourth grade, the stakes got higher. Inspired by a story they'd read in school, they decided to build a raft and sail it down the town creek. It was a grand idea, at least in theory. Max gathered wood from his dad's garage, while Jake drew a detailed blueprint of their vessel. They worked for days, hammering and tying ropes, until their masterpiece was ready. On launch day, they proudly pushed their raft into the creek, only to watch it slowly sink as they laughed so hard they could barely breathe. Covered in mud, they declared the mission a success anyway. After all, they'd had fun and that was what mattered. Their biggest project came in 6th grade when they decided to create their own comic book series, The Adventures of Starboy and Dino Kid. Jake, the artist, spent hours sketching superheroes, while Max, the storyteller, dreamed up daring plots. They printed copies at school and sold them to classmates for $1 each. For a brief moment, they felt like actual heroes. But as they entered high school, things began to change. Max joined the football team and started hanging out with a new group of friends. Jake, ever the introvert, focused on his art, often spending hours in his room sketching. Their once inseparable bond felt stretched thin. One Friday night, Jake was doodling in his notebook when he saw Max's Instagram post, a group photo with his football team. Jake couldn't help but feel left out. The next day at school, he confronted Max. "You don't care about our friendship anymore," Jake blurted out. Max, taken aback, fired back. "That's not true! You just don't get how busy I am now!" The argument ended with both of them walking away angry. For weeks, they barely spoke. One rainy afternoon, Jake was cleaning his room when he found an old, crumpled copy of The Adventures of Starboy and Dino Kid. As he flipped through the pages, memories of their childhood adventures came rushing back. The treehouse, the raft, the comic book dreams. Jake realized how much he missed his best friend. The next day, Jake showed up at Max's football practice, holding a new comic he'd created. It wasn't just any story, it was their story. The cover showed two boys, one with a cape and the other with a T-Rex helmet standing side by side. "I made this for you," Jake said, holding out the comic. Max took it and flipped through the pages, his eyes widening with every panel. The final page read, "No matter what happens, we'll always be Starboy and Dino Kid." Max looked up, his voice thick with emotion. "I'm sorry, Jake. I've been a terrible friend." Jake shook his head. "You haven't. We just forgot what made us, us." They hugged right there on the football field, their friendship renewed. By senior year, Jake and Max were closer than ever. They planned one last big adventure before graduation, a road trip to the mountains. With snacks packed and music blasting, they spent 3 days hiking, camping, and laughing under the stars. On their final night, they sat by the campfire talking about the future. "No matter where we go," Max said, "we'll always have our adventures." "Always," Jake agreed. Closing message. Friendship isn't just about the good times, it's about sticking together through the ups and downs. Jake and Max's story shows us the true power of friendship, the ability to grow together, to forgive, and to create memories that last a lifetime. Whether it's a treehouse or a football field, the strongest friendships remind us that we're never alone, no matter where life takes us.